Hey, man. So, tracking the debasement of a society through the debasement of the coinage. Check this out. I took my silver stack over to show my dad yesterday, and he was telling me about something Francis Schaeffer once said. Francis Schaeffer was a Christian philosopher who died in the early 80s, about how you can track the demise of a society through the debasement of its currency, and its coinage specifically. And I couldn't find this quote in time for this video. If you know what he's talking about, if you know a link to it, please give it in the description. I'd like to see it. But I pulled out some of my coins and I saw it. Really, really interesting. Check this out. I don't know how well this shows up on the camera. The coin on the left is a 1979 penny, and the one on the right is a 2021. And even though the design seems very similar at first glance, if you take a look at it, a lot of people know that the coins were flattened out to make them last longer. But when they flattened them out, they had to change the proportions of the portraits to make them still look right. And then they also tried to give them some personality or something. I don't know what they did, but they made them very, very cartoony. And I'm sorry, this doesn't show up really well. So the coin is all flattened out. It lacks the three-dimensional aspect. The script is less blocky and prominent, and Lincoln just completely he lost a lot of dignity. But check this out. Here's where it's the worst. Look at the back of this horrific thing, and you've seen this before. But compare it to the old Lincoln penny, where if you look close, you can actually see Lincoln's statue in the Lincoln Memorial. That very classic, very dignified reverse of that penny is replaced by this utterly ridiculous, meaningless, cartoonish back on this new one that looks, I mean, it just looks ridiculous. What's that supposed to mean? What's that shield mean? That's insanity. It looks horrific. It looks cheap. This does not look like a coin that is valued by the society that issued it. And what's it mean for a society to issue coins that it doesn't value? And what does it mean about the people they pay with these coins? You know, the workers who get paid in this valueless money to buy valueless things. It just shows you the demise of our society. We're going to skip the nickels and come back to them. But check this out. Now, this is just a barber dime. This is just here because whatever. It doesn't really illustrate my point. Check out this. This is the Mercury head dime. This is a lot of people's favorite classic American coin. It's got this really cool design, a lot of detail, a lot of relief, a lot of a 3D effect. Check out that portrait. It just looks... it just looks really good, and I won't say lifelike because obviously it's a mythological figure, but it looks fantastic. And you look on the back, there's all this meaning and symbolism, all this detail. This one's a little worn, but if it wasn't, you'd see a lot of detail in the bundle of wood, and the axe, and in all the leaves and the wreath, and in the script. It just looks fantastic, and it's silver. Obviously, it's got the intrinsic value, but just this great classic design that had meaning and dignity. And now look, most of us don't like Roosevelt. He's the one who started this whole process of debasing our money. But even so, compare that silver Roosevelt dime with a modern version where they flattened it out. They tried to give him some personality, and it just looks cartoony and cheap. There you go. So that dignified figure on the left, compare it now to this this sort of monopoly money figure on the right, and you see not just a loss of value, because there's definitely a loss of value between this silver dime and this nickel-coated copper dime, by the man who started that process, by the way. Started it, didn't finish. Nixon didn't finish it. Well, Nixon finished it, but Nixon didn't take the silver out. But which one looks like it's more valued? Which one looks like it's, society values the labor it paid for with the coin and values the products it sells to that labor with the coin? There is a decline from here to here, and it's reflected in the back as well. Even though that silver dime is older and worn, look at the 3D effect. It just pops off of the base of that coin more than this washed out two-dimensional one. We see it with Washington here. Look at that's a dignified, heroic figure. The portrait looks like it has substance, and this uncluttered, clean design and everything that just lets Washington's bust speak for itself. And then look at this one. Look at that contrast there. Not only is it a far less dignified portrait, it barely shows up because it's so flat. And then the face is all complicated with a bunch of unnecessary script. And they wrecked the simple. This was a I won't say powerful, but it was, when you looked at this quarter, a message was delivered about George Washington and his relation to the country. And when you look at this one, that's all gone. All that dignity and all that clean, clear, call it propaganda if you want. This coin tells you something about how we value our country, and this one doesn't. But look at the backs. That just speaks for itself. These state quarters are ridiculous. And this is Montana's, and this happened to be the one I grabbed. My Georgia quarter is even worse with that that looks like a stupid tattoo, a weird hillbilly might get. It's ridiculous. It has no dignity. It tells you nothing about our values or who we are as a people. But nowhere is this decline more obvious than in these nickels. Now, I purposely chose an old worn nickel. And Jefferson is not an admired figure anymore, and it shows, because on the left, on the classic 1940s Jefferson nickel, look, again, we've got a dignified, heroic pose with a classic a pose in the portrait with a lot of relief. This portrait of Jefferson stands out. And then look at this modern one. I don't even know how to... There's no relief. It's almost it's almost just completely flat, two-dimensional. Jefferson looks like a gibbering idiot. This is an aggressively ugly coin. This is a coin that's going out of its way to devalue itself with a cartoonishness. And it's attempting to tell you it has no value. The reverse is actually the same design, but again, even as worn as that old coin is, look how Monticello, it looks three-dimensional. It looks like it comes off of the base of that coin, and it kind of does. And even though you've got all this detail here in the newer coin, it's flat and just two-dimensional. And it doesn't grab you at all. You can clearly track the demise of our civilization in the debasement of our coinage. That is that really surprised me how obvious it was. Men, we appreciate you. Thank you.